Okay, good day, grade 8. So, if you could open up. So, first, yeah, we're just going to do lesson 1. If you open up your forecast, yep, so we're going to do natural disasters, formation of hurricanes, okay? Um, Go through this video, okay, and we'll complete some notes and we'll look about how hurricanes are formed, which is something that's of very much importance for the Bahamas, and it just gives us that little bit of knowledge. Now, you would have last lesson we did about the characteristics that were needed for a hurricane to form, okay, and such as the warm water, 27 degrees Celsius or more, the uh, the winds, making sure there's low wind shear, etc. Okay, and we're going to look at the formation. So the first thing we'll look at is actually just watch this simple video that's going to go over a little bit of what we did last lesson, and it's going to just kind of set us up for today. Okay, so let's go through this and I'll talk through it.
Hurricanes are very large and intense storms. But where do these giant storms come from? A hurricane starts with the warm water found near the equator. Hurricanes typically only form in tropical regions.
Now, you remember they said near the equator. That's very important. Remember that we don't get any hurricanes forming on the equator. And can you remember that why from our weather and climate? Yep, so that's because we remember that these were known as the doldrums, okay? The idea that there is no wind there, and we've just mentioned about how we need wind for the hurricanes to form.
Where the ocean is at least 80 degrees Fahrenheit.
27 degrees Celsius.
These warm waters evaporate, creating warm, moist air which acts as fuel for the storm. Wind is also needed for a hurricane to form.
So we're going through the characteristics. Yep, so it needs that water for it to power the hurricane, and it needs the wind.
Many hurricanes in the United States are caused by winds blowing across the Atlantic Ocean from Africa. This wind causes even more of the warm water to evaporate into the air. The warm, moist air then rises high into the atmosphere, where it begins to cool. Way up there, the water vapor condenses back into liquid water droplets. Water droplets in the atmosphere form clouds, including big, stormy cumulonimbus clouds.
Remember that name, cumulonimbus clouds. See how the storm here is forming and building up. Now, if there was wind shear, it would cut it off. But because the winds are not going in those opposite directions and changing directions, that it's able to build up.
As the warm air continues rising upward, the winds begin blowing in a circular pattern around a center. The spiraling winds gather up a cluster.
So you know this idea of that Coriolis effect, the idea because of the Earth spinning, and then so when you see those pictures from the sky of hurricanes, there's that swirling pattern that you see.
Big thunderstorm clouds. Once the spinning winds reach 74 miles per hour, the storm has officially become a hurricane. Hurricanes are huge. They can be 10 miles high and over 1,000 miles across. Once a hurricane hits land, it runs out of warm, moist air and its winds begin to weaken.
But so the storm did that last lesson about the idea of it dissipating.
Can still cause lots of damage to communities near the coast. Thankfully, we have weather satellites that are constantly monitoring the conditions down here on Earth. The GOES-R series of weather satellites scan the hemisphere every 10 minutes and the U.S. every 5 minutes, keeping an eye on conditions that might cause a hurricane to form. Once a hurricane forms, the satellites can help predict the storm's intensity and track it minute by minute.
So we're going to talk later about these categories. Category 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you would have heard of those categories, where it's come from and how they are measured.
Minute by minute. This information allows meteorologists to deliver early warnings and help people stay safe.
And we'll talk about preparing for these hurricanes next week, okay? So because we're going to focus on for this first lesson about the formation, so we'll go from here. And I've got a couple of slides that kind of go through it step by step. Yep. So the incoming solar radiation warms the oceans, warms it to that critical level of 27 degrees Celsius or more, and warm air, the moist air, to rise through the air in thermals, okay, and clouds then become forming, especially these cumulonimbus clouds, okay? And here, when they come to build up, then we've got this eye, the air rushes in from the outside, creating these winds, and the whole storm rotates because of the Coriolis effect. Now, that's quite a brief one, to see if this makes it. I think it's just has fewer notes, but actually has a better kind of image of it. Okay, so yep, so the air comes rushing in, and notice that the eye of the storm, remember, is that calm area, but the strongest parts of the storm are on this wall. Okay, around the eye wall. Okay. So I've got those details kind of all in the formation here into those 7 steps. So can you write down those 7 steps under your titled page, okay? So just write them down so you can pause the video and do that. Then these 2 activities and these 2 worksheets, multiple choice activities, here whether they're true or false, okay? If you are not able to print them out, you need to write out the sentences and write whether they're true or false, and then write the correct answer. So write out the full sentences so you have those notes, okay? So that was lesson 1, and so they find those documents in the, they'll be the attachments to the assignments this week. So for lesson 2, we're going to look at the weather conditions caused by hurricanes and how hurricanes are categorized, okay? So we've got this, and we've got this idea of, we've got the storm classification, which we'll come back to later. That's over this side. Then we've got Katrina, Harvey, and what factor has influenced the order? Why are there more recent hurricanes higher up this list? Which year experienced the most damaging tropical storms? Which category has the highest wind speeds? Talk about category, it's over this side, okay? And I think you would have already know that, yep, that category 5, such as Dorian last year, yep, is the highest category that we can have. And now the order is by the damage and the cost. And so that will link to why are the more recent hurricanes higher up this list, because things have become more expensive due to inflation. So the costs are going to become higher, okay? This might be a different list if we did it by wind strength. Go from there, okay? So we're going to think about what weather conditions that you might expect for. So we've got Florida here, this hurricane coming on in, okay? So what could they expect in the next 12 hours? You would have seen in the news, you could experience this. Just want to see if you could put this into your own words, okay? So I want you to make sure that you have at least got 4 of these points down, okay? We've got cloud cover, okay? Wind speed picking up. We've got winds blowing from the east, because the fact that you're talking about being from in Florida. Downpours of rainfall, okay? Possible water spouts and thunderstorms, okay? A storm surge, okay? These are very dangerous, one of the most dangerous parts of that can come with a hurricane, and we talked about them earlier. So yeah, that dangerous flooding, so where the sea surges up, so a big wave comes and hits the coastline. The eye of the storm, which would be the calm parts, okay? Followed by the strongest parts, because we know that the wall of the eye is the strongest parts, okay? That's the way it talks about here. Suddenly increase, powerful winds, heavy rain, air pressure will rise, okay? Eventually the rain will cease, okay? So I just copy those down into your notes. Why do the hurricanes become less powerful on land? Now, actually, the video spoke of this, and I've got a keyword that will help you with your homework with that. It's this idea of it dissipating, okay? And we talked about how it lost its power because it doesn't have the water to power the hurricane. So, categorizing hurricanes, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, yeah, at 74 miles per hour, it becomes a hurricane. That's a category 1. Very dangerous winds, okay? Then it just gets extremely dangerous, devastating damage, catastrophic, okay? And there are different, it can talk about the amount of damage, but there's going to be several other things to consider about what might cause the damage or what might cause the problem. So it might be the buildings, how the buildings are made, how the land, how high up the land is, how many people live in that area, etc. Okay, so the category is a good way of knowing about the speed, but then the damage actually can alter. It's not 100% consistent with, because you could have a category 3 that could really cause as much damage as a category 4 just because of the local factors, because of what the area is like that's been hit. But this is a really, really important thing that we're going to do here. And it's going to really help you out next year. So next year, your coursework in social studies will be about hurricanes. And one question will be about the Saffir-Simpson scale. So this is just a little bit of research for you, okay? And you can do some research of example hurricanes. So give an example hurricane for each category on the Saffir-Simpson scale. Now, what you need to remember is that as a hurricane approaches, so let's say when it was back here, it might be a category 4, it might be a category 3 at this point, it might have weakened, it could have got stronger, okay? So it's always changing. So when you're in your homework, you need to note that hurricanes change what category they are as they travel. So let's say the hurricane in one particular place was a category 4 in Florida, then you need to, if you're going to use Hurricane Irma as your example, you'd have to say where it was and what category it was when it hit that place. So Hurricane Irma was a category 4 when it hit Florida. It caused the following damage. You need to find one category 1 hurricane, okay? And where was it when it was at a category 1, okay? Give the details of a category 1, your example and where it was, the year as well, the damage caused to this place during it. And because you're doing research, you need to give your source of information. Do not just put Wikipedia or just write Google. Now, it could be that you got it from a news article. It could be that you got it from a journal, got it from some meteorological website, okay? If you do that, copy down that. Now, this will be really, really helpful next year, okay? This will be a graded piece for this week, but as I said, this will be really, really helpful for next year. It'll save you a lot of time. So, bit of nice research there. This can be a little bit difficult. I'm happy if you are struggling with this to get in touch with me, okay? So there, as it says here, any questions you can email me, okay? And as you see from, let me just escape from this. As you see from here, yep. So assignment, complete the worksheets, okay? And upload to Plus Portal. Assignment here, go from there and to upload to Plus Portal. Okay, so when you have completed those two, you can get in touch with me. Okay, any questions?